Hi, friends. I had a slight hiccup as I was entering into the live stream, which is that Kay, my partner's door, was open and they were in a meeting talking like as loud as they could possibly be talking. So everything's fine. Hi. So I have a list of questions that hi. I have a list of questions that people submitted on Instagram and on our Slack channel. So I'll be going through those, but I just kind of wanted to check in with everyone, say hi. I am finally knitting the hood of this sweater for Kay, and it's like really boring to knit, unfortunately. But so, isn't that cool? So it's basically just you like knit this tube that has a little bit of shaping and then Kitchener it at the top and then pick up and do a ribbing. I'm enjoying, Susan, that is that's taking off. That's really great. Susan designed a really awesome like it's not a balaclava. What are we calling it? It's like a pickle head hood. And I was like, oh, the baubles, I don't understand why people don't call them nipples, spelled Knipple. Helmet, yeah. And it's so funny that you wrote that and now everyone's calling them nipples. So we did good here. This is our this is our knitting legacy, and I feel pretty good about that. I think like the last week, I don't know if everyone else feels this way, but I've been in like such a like crappy mood, and I know everyone's been talking about like it's like a year since lockdown, but I feel like I've just been waking up on the wrong side of the bed like every day and also sleeping a ton and just like kind of generally being bummed out. So I've been really trying to like I don't know. Oh, this is also inevitable. Maple, our neighbor has started keeping treats by the door. So when she comes up, she gives Maple a treat under the door, which is somewhat helpful, but she still barks. Anyway, I've been like negotiating sort of being okay with feeling like crap and taking it easy on myself, but also trying to shake it to the best of my ability. Um, so I don't know. I've been navigating that, and I feel like other people probably are as well. So yeah, usually we have knit nights with the Slack channel, and last weekend my body was just like, you need to chill. Yeah, it's like the rut is real. The like just feeling not great is real. So like for a while, like doing my hair and makeup and getting dressed in the morning, like was sort of like pepping me up and feeling good. And then like 2 days later, I was just like, F this. Like, I never want to get ready ever again. I'm just going to live in my pajamas. So yeah, I'm just trying to like balance all of that stuff out. And I know everyone else is too. So yeah, I've been knitting it in the evenings, working on this. And that's another funny thing that's sort of like come out of this is that usually I only have like one sweater on the needles at a time. It's very rare that I will have multiple. And right now I have three like in progress, my size sweaters going. And I am realizing why I don't usually do that because I get overwhelmed and I don't know what to focus on. So hopefully I can get the hood on this guy done soon. I've been working on it at night when Kay and I have been watching X-Files. Or more so, I'm watching it and Kay falls asleep while we're watching X-Files. Um, so I don't know. Everything gets done eventually, right? Also, like very soothing right now. So, yeah, that's what's up. How's everyone doing? You should definitely leave a comment in in the chat if you haven't already, because I want to know who's hanging out with us. Also, my neighbor. So our upstairs neighbor has this big, fluffy white dog named Kaibo, and that's why Maple will probably occasionally bark because she always barks when they come up and down. So, um, they're outside playing, and I can hear them, and you probably can too. Kay is still knitting. They're not very confident. Hi, Sophia. They're not super confident, so I kind of have to babysit them while they're knitting. So the reason I actually started the third sweater that I'm working on, which is a top-down raglan, was that I was hoping that I could get to the body to hand it off to them so that they could just knit straight on the body and the round. So we'll see we'll see how quickly I can get to that point. They can do more. Like they've knit what's it called? A smitten. I don't know if you know what a smitten is. It's like a double mitten in the shape of a heart so you can hold hands when it's cold outside. So like they've done that. So they can definitely do more than they think they can. We also just got a bunch of Malabrigo Rios so that we can both work on some knits for our nibbling that is due later this year. So they'll be knitting a hat, I think, for the baby and maybe a matching hat for them, which was an idea they were very excited about. So they're definitely interested in doing like a podcast episode with me. I've talked to them about it before. So yeah, I think that would be fun. And maybe when this is done, I'll have them on an episode and we can just talk about our projects that we work on together. Yeah, it was the other night when we were knitting, I gave them another sweater that I was working on, and they were like, "You're knitting my sweater and I'm knitting your sweater. Cute." So I was like, "That's pretty cute." um, yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. Um, okay, I'm gonna look at my questions that I have written down from Instagram. But if y'all have any more, you can leave them in the chat, and I'll go add them too. Okay, someone asked, and I didn't write who asked the questions because it was just their username. So anyway, so as I think everyone knows, I'm moving to Portland in, I keep saying 6 months, even though like 2 months have passed, and it's just getting closer, and I'm trying not to like freak out too bad about it. But someone asked what the first 3 things that I plan to do in Portland are, which got me feeling very excited and a little emotional because I am really excited about it. And in addition to just being excited to moving out of Boston, it's going to be summer. And right now, I really want it to be warm. So I think the first thing, aside right from like unpacking, which I was like, that's going to have to happen, is going to see my friend Zoe, who runs the cross stitch company called Junebug and Darlin, and who is basically who convinced us that Portland was where we wanted to move. She and her partner Skip have 2 dogs who are the best, but her dog in particular, Izzy, it is like a mini me version of Maple. Like sometimes I'm like scrolling in my Instagram feed and we'll see a picture of Izzy and we'll think that it is Maple. And it's like my dream for them to play together. Like Zoe has met Maple and I have met Izzy, but they have not met one another. So there will be videos of Izzy and Maple playing, and I can't wait. So that's definitely one of the first things that is going to happen. Um, I also, there's so much I'm excited to do. I think it's also going to coincide with like starting to feel safer, with COVID and everything. Um, and so I think there's going to be like, I'm so excited for the food in Portland. Boston is not a foodie city. There are, there's a lot of like pubs and bars. So there's like one of my favorite restaurants that I used to do knit night at is called The Haven. And they're like a Scottish, oh, and there she goes. They already went upstairs, dude. Okay. So they do like, fish and chips, which are delicious, but like fried food is really common, and like burgers and just like stuff that's pretty heavy. So I'm excited to just like be in a really foodie city and just eat a ton of food. It's going to be summer, like I said, so I'm going to go get ice cream. There's like a ton of really good ice cream places. So yeah, 1, visit Zoe and Izzy. 2, eat ice cream and just eat my way through the city. And 3, just like go on really nice walks, because my neighborhood is not very walking friendly, that I live in Boston right now. And that's usually fine. But with the pandemic, it's been pretty tough. So I'm really excited. Like Portland's like one of the most walkable cities in the country. So I just want to go on long walks with Maple and be warm while I'm walking. So yeah, I'm really excited. Kay and I were talking about it in the car the other day, and like Kay started tearing up. They were so excited. They're like, I'm over Boston, which I'm also definitely feeling. It's just like for West Coast of the US people, Boston is pretty harsh and unfriendly feeling. So yeah, that's what I'm excited for. I love, someone asked like, what's your favorite non-crafting activity? And I had a really hard time thinking. I was like baking, but I was like, that's kind of crafty. And I was thinking, yeah, I like food, but I sort of feel like that's like in the realm of crafting. But I realized that I was like, but I like feeding people. And I think one of my favorite non-crafting activities that intersects with crafting is actually hosting like parties. Like whether it's a dinner party or just like a party that people come and listen to music and eat together with. And that's been tough with COVID for sure, especially because that's been a way that we've really formed community here in Boston. We used to always have like a really awesome holiday party. I used to host Thanksgiving, and just like haven't been able to do that. So I'm excited for that in Portland, especially because I have some family in addition to friends in Portland. So I think it's going to be a really fun place to build community. So yeah, I would say my answer to non-crafting activities, which can include crafts, is hosting like dinner parties and stuff. I have like a dream of having like a weekly, just anyone can come over and eat with us potluck kind of night. So yeah. Oh, Sophia said, are you worried that you won't get as much use out of your warm knitwear in Portland? Um, I don't, I'm not really worried about that. I think because I grew up in Southern California. So, when Kay and I have been talking about where we wanted to move, and this has been basically a conversation for years, I was really insistent that I wanted to live somewhere that does have some variation in temperature, and isn't like the desert that I grew up in. So that's like one of the reasons that we settled on the Pacific Northwest instead of like Southern California or even the Bay Area. I mean, also the fact that it's very expensive right now in the Bay Area in particular. Um, which for, it's all like so subjective because someone who's living in like Michigan would think that Portland is like really expensive as well, but coming from Boston, it feels really like a lot better for us. So, yeah, I'm not really worried about that. And also, like, I am hoping to go up, into higher altitudes and like still experience some snow and whatnot. So, um, but maybe let's check in like a year and I'll let you know. Let's see. Someone asked, "What's your favorite?" Oh, I liked the way that this was asked. It was funny. It was like she didn't want to ask what's your favorite drawing or piece of art that you've made, but was sort of asking like that. So I wanted to, sorry, I'm moving the camera around to show you a like drawing that I'm working on right now for a series of project bags that I'm going to be hopefully having ready by May. I'm thinking that that might actually be cutting it a little bit close, but um, I'm making, so this will end up being, ooh, that's not going to work at all. That's kind of working. Like a tessellation. So it'll be a repeating pattern. And like all of them are knitters knitting, hanging out together, but they're like, some of them are knitting like the sleeve on a sweater that another one of them is wearing. Mm, someone's knitting like a hat that someone else is wearing. Anyway, um, so it's going to be like a whole repeating pattern of just like a bunch of knitters hanging out and knitting together, which I'm really excited about. So I've been working on that kind of slowly. I think that also has to do with sort of like the general malaise of quarantine that I've been feeling. But I'm kind of feeling my energy coming back, especially trying not to get my hopes up too much. But it looks like it's going to be like 60 degrees at the beginning of next week, Fahrenheit, obviously. But so we'll be able to go out and get some sun and like feel a little bit of warmth. So yeah, I am hoping that my energy will kind of come back and it'll be nice. So that's something I'm really excited about and have been really enjoying drawing. And I've talked about this like on Instagram and videos before, but like I'm really like proud of the fear that I've gotten over about sharing my art, and sort of, I guess, the confidence that I've built about just being like, I'm just gonna put it out there and like it'll go well or it won't, but like I'm just gonna do it. And I think that like mindset has very much also served me in dyeing yarn like I have been. There was a lot, I think, holding me back and feeling like there was like a certain way that I had to do things, and sort of overcoming that mindset of like following a specific path and having a right way to do, I guess, or right way to live life, which is BS, has really served me in sort of building this YouTube channel and like building my business and stuff. So yeah, in terms of art, like I said, I'm just like happy with the journey that I've taken to get where I am. So yeah, my friend Callie, and I know that I thought that this was really funny. Callie was like, "What is your favorite flavor of pie?" And I was like, "This is a very important question." Um, so I don't think I can. Yeah, I can. I actually have a pie tattoo under my arm, which is kind of fun, and that's blackberry pie. I love berry pies. I think I just love all pie. I can say that I don't really like pecan pie that much. Um, I don't know. I like savory pies. I like sweet pies. Berry pies are really good. Blackberry and nectarine pie, excellent. I've made like peach and basil pie. God, pie is just like the best. We have a really great so there's like great restaurants in Boston, but it's not consistent. Like they're not like everywhere. Um, but one of my favorite restaurants is called Petsy's Pies, and they just released their spring like menu of pies. So there are sweet and savory, but they had like leek and ricotta that sounded so good to me. So I was I said to Kay, I was like, "Can we just buy 10 and freeze some of them?" They told me no, but I'm not giving up on this battle yet. So basically, I love pie. If you ever want to give me a treat, you can give me pie. um, the last like couple of questions are about like dyeing yarn and like what like pigments I use and whatnot. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about like some of my plans for M to the third, talk a little bit about my process and um yeah, finish it off with that. And again, if you have any questions, you can add them in the chat. And I will answer those as well. Um, so some of so da, da, da. I know the pies. I love pie. Pie is just the best. Um, okay. So one of the things that I started to do was I have a base that is made at a mill in New York, Battenkill Fiber Mills. For me, it's a DK weight and it's called Liminal. And the reason I named it Liminal is because it's kind of occupying that space for me in my business where I am hoping that I'm hoping to get to a point where all of my bases are custom made for me. I find the bases that are offered, you know, from a lot of the more popular, like bear yarn sites, like Wool to Die For, and whatnot. Like everyone uses them, and that is fine. But I have a real goal of making yarns that I want to knit with that are not superwash, maybe have nylon in them, but there's like an option not to have it. Um, yeah, so basically, I'm sort of starting to pave the way to get to a point where all of the bases are custom for me. Um, and one of the things that I have been thinking about a lot and working on, I'm just sort of like dabbling at the moment, is doing a non superwash sock base that's using breed specific yarns. I'm not sure. I have a couple of ideas of what I want to use within that base. But I'm still like at the very, very bare stage, beginning stages, I guess, of prototyping. Um, so, just something with a high twist, something with a long stable length, something with like either nylon, maybe mohair, something to just make it a little bit stronger so that it wears better. And I hope I can bring that to, reality within the next year or two. Um, I've been having a really hard time finding a, a complement to mezcla, which is my marled fingering weight, because what I really want is like a bare base that I can dye on to do color work with mezcla. But it has been so hard finding something that is comparable in weight and also is as sturdy as mezcla because mezcla is 20% nylon. Um, so yeah, that's been like, I was able to find the minis for the sock sets that I have up on my site and did the last shop update for. So I've been experimenting with it and just kind of seeing how it goes. Um, so yeah, it feels like it shouldn't be this hard to find what I want, but because it's difficult, I'm realizing that there's like more that I have to do, meaning like I might have to create what I'm looking for. So, and this is all stuff that I enjoy thinking about, but that also doesn't mean that it doesn't sometimes get frustrating. Um, yeah, so I think one of my favorite things about making and dyeing yarn is creating the things that I don't see, um, in the market in general. I worked when I worked at the store in Oakland. The emphasis was really on non-superwash yarns, and obviously they were like big on natural dyeing. And for a long time, that was just like what I knew. And I think it's becoming more popular now, but that's like almost became how I thought the right way to knit was, which I don't think that way anymore, even though it is the way that I mostly prefer to knit, but I still knit superwash, socks and whatnot. So I just don't think I think there's a place for everything. I think there's a place for different price points. There's a place for different fibers. And within that, I'm like sort of finding what I'm bringing to the table and what is special about what I'm bringing to the table. And so that kind of brings me to like, in addition to the actual base yarns, I'm also working on some different techniques for how to get speckling and like sort of the look of like an acid dye with natural dyes. Um, and it's it's further made difficult by the fact that um, I don't really want to stock full skeins of superwash, but yeah, anyway, it's just sort of like like I could bore you forever talking about like my back and forth about like what I want to have um, in my store or not. But yeah, so it's sort of like everything is a toss up. Um, I can do it this way, but I have to compensate for that in another way and blah, blah, blah. So, and then someone asked like, what pigments do I use? So I do use all natural dyes. Most of it is in like a powdered, dried extract form, which I get from Botanical Colors. Sometimes I buy from Maiwa, which is out of Canada. If Botanical Colors is out of something that I need, then I'll buy it from Maiwa. And I also forage stuff. So kind of a funny, I didn't manage to do this before they were dug up, but the McDonald's that's like around the corner from us had so many marigolds in the fall. And I was like, Kay, do you think anyone would care if we like just pulled up to McDonald's and like deadheaded all of the marigolds? I was like, this is urban foraging for real. Um, but I've also foraged like black walnuts in the city. Um, and I have like at a public park, as well as a friend of mine has a black walnut tree in her yard. Um, oh my God, Susan, that would be pretty funny. If they bring them back before I move, then I will. I think I have to because it would just be too funny of a vlog to be like going to steal all the marigolds um, from McDonald's. But also, like, my mom didn't want to name me, or my mom spelt my name, MCK and not MACK because she didn't want people to call me Big Mac. um, Yeah, it's I don't know if marigold Mick Marigold would be good. Yeah, so I also worked for a while at Harvard, and they did the same thing where dig up they would dig up all of the marigolds at like the amount of money that Harvard spends on landscaping is like wild. So yeah, they would dig up all the plants before they like died and just like replace them. It was wild. I guess they composted. I hope they composted just like these massive plants that they were getting rid of. But yeah, maybe like when I'm in Portland, I can kind of establish those kinds of relationships. My local like gardening Facebook group has been really good in getting me various plants like in the Northeast. I don't know how far north or how far west this plant is regionally, but it's called like pokeberry or pokeweed. And it's fugitive dye unless you have a very acidic dye bath. So one time I went through my local gardening group and asked if anyone had pokeberries, and like I basically went around and just like harvested weeds out of people's yard, and they were like stoked. um, I've grown coreopsis and grown also marigolds and all sorts of stuff. I didn't know that. That's cool, Hannah. Ugh, Dolly. I just got an audiobook. Uh, it's not an auto, it's a biography of Dolly Parton. I'm so excited to start it. Um, that's cool. I'm trying to think of other dye plants that I've harvested. Oh, oak galls is like the other one. They're not as easy to like find, but I find that like when Kay and I would go hiking or whatnot, I could find them and just like kind of pick them up off the ground. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I use. Does anyone else have any questions that I could answer? I did imagine knitting and talking at the same time, but I like think I use my hands too much. The last best and worst book that you read. The last book that I read was what did I just finish? Oh, I've been reading the vampire knitting series, which has been very goofy and fun. Um, I'm also reading Craft by Alexander Langlands, where he just sort of follows. I'm reading like I always have like four books going at the same time. And then I'm also reading Women Who Run with Wolves, which is kind of I need to read it slowly because there's like a lot of information, not like information. I think there's a lot of things that it like evokes in me, so I just kind of want to like marinate in it. Um so I think those are the books that I've read so far this year. Maybe there's one more. But yeah, the vampire knitting series is surprisingly good. I will just say. Although there's a cop love interest, and I'm like, no. I'm like, get out of here with that. I've also been reading, like, in terms of like like, it's kind of a cozy. It's a little bit more intense than a cozy, but it's like the, yeah, Hannah. I mean, really, I'm like, vampire or cop. Like, come on, it's like not even a question. Uh, Um, I've been also reading the Anna Pigeon series. I started that last year and I've been really enjoying it. She's like like a national park ranger, and there's like always a murder that she solves. It's great. Um, I got the Dolly Parton book, which is called She Come By It Natural, and I'm very excited for that. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a librarian, Susan. You know how it goes. We're always like in the middle of like six books. So um I feel like there was one oh, so when I really got Um, oh, I see. Yeah, Hannah, the Slack that I have is free. Um, you can have I so be once we get past like 10,000 messages that we've all exchanged, the oldest ones will start disappearing. Um, but for now, I'm in the free version and it's been fine. So I did have someone have some difficulty signing up earlier this week, and I think that was a problem with Slack and not anything that I did. So yeah, you can definitely sign up and it is free. And yeah, we just hang out and chat. It's really fun. So feel free to come hang out. Um, like 2 years ago, I really started reading like Knit Lit, and I read like the Knitting Cozy Mystery series. And I read, that's when I started the Vampire Knitting series. There was like a haunted yarn store mystery series that was like fine. But I read a Debbie Macomber book, which don't do that to yourself. I left the worst review on Goodreads because I was so mad I spent my time reading that book and it was like the worst. I was like, this is like it was so ridiculous. There was like a woman who they kept calling fat and then she like ended up being pregnant the whole time. I was like, that's not what are you doing? I was so mad. Yeah, so anyway, maybe I'll post my Goodreads review in the Slack channel so you can like feel my rage. It was so ridiculous. Um, I just got Susan. I think you will be happy. The Brown Sisters series the library, and I was like hoping that they would come in time to have a Black History Month like protagonist, like Black protagonist, like romance series display, but they didn't come in time. Yeah, that series is really really good. Thank you for introducing me to it. um yeah, yeah, it's sort of funny that I do read quite a bit. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Um but Kay is out of their meeting and now they're distracting me. Okay. Um like, Hannah, do you mean like books about knitting that we read and talk about, or do you mean like we knit and read a book and talk about it? Susan has done no any book. Yeah, Susan has done one. Um yeah, I'm not opposed to it. Maybe Susan, maybe we should do a book club together. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to it. Um yeah, maybe we can hold each other accountable so that all the pressure isn't on one of us. Um, wow, look at these ideas hatching. I love it. Sh- yeah, I did a book club at I did a book club at the old yarn store that I worked at, which we read a lot of like popular fiction, which was it was it was okay. Oh my god, Susan. uh, I think when you start designing t-shirts, it turns into a cult, if I'm honest. Yeah, I did it at the old bookstore or the yarn store that I worked at, and I've done them at at school with other like staff members, and like I always feel like it's it's an excuse to hang out, which I'm not mad about, but I don't know, like, do people I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll start taking, suggestions for different, for different books. Um, someone also I realized I skipped a question. Someone asked, what other queer podcasters that I recommend, and I had kind of a hard time coming up with a list. So maybe what I need to do is, ask on Instagram and see what people say because I don't know if anyone can think of any. You should put it in the chat because I know that I'll have to look up her Instagram. She just yeah, um, she just started one, and I saw the first episode and it was really nice. So hopefully, I hope that she sticks with it. Yeah, Rio Knits, who is part of our like Slack community and the Emtothethird community, and Bearded Pearl for sure. So, but yeah, I think I like I wish there were more. And maybe if you also wish there were more, it should be you. So that's kind of why I started mine or started my podcast. Cool. Well, I'm kind of slowing down. If anyone else has any questions or wants to post anything, I'm really glad you all came and hung out with me. This has been really fun. This is like my first live ever. We started a book club. We talked about moving to Portland. I drank some tea. I hope you guys had fun hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with me on your lunch break, Susan. Cool. So if you aren't part of the Slack group already, there's always a link in like my latest video that I've posted here on YouTube to join. And if you have issues joining, you can definitely message me on Instagram or leave a comment and we'll try and get it sorted. There's different ways to be invited, and we have 3 times a month knit nights that happen and you can hear about through the Slack channel. So it's like this, but you get to participate and don't just chat at me. So I hope to see you there and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.